While you are busy, you mask everything out. A quote from Professor Masego from episode 15 of season 1. If you haven't checked out that episode, I implore you, please go check it out. It was such a incredible and insightful conversation that I had. And so you can find this particular quote 47 minutes into that episode. And today, from that quote, the topic that is inspired by this quote is mental resilience, mental stability, and mental toughness. So let me tell you a story. Growing up, I was such a interesting character. I wore a mask. I had a different mask for every different room, every different setting, different community. The person I was at school was different from the person I was at home. Was different from the person that I was with my friends at home. Like, even to take it even further, the person I was with my family, my primary family where I stayed, with my mom, my grandmother, uncle, and cousins, was different from the person I would be when I would go and visit my grandparents from my dad's side of the family and my cousins there. Like, completely different. So the person that they're getting from this side of the family is different from the person they're seeing in this side of the family. Like, I was such a different individual. I constantly wanted to fit in. I constantly was changing myself, adapting myself to fit into different groups. And on top of that, I compartmentalized everything. Like, mentally speaking, I would compartmentalize things. Whatever the issues are that I'm dealing with at home, I would leave them at home. Like, it has no place when I am at school. And whatever the issues are at school, they have no place with whatever it is that I deal with my friends in my hometown. Like, this, I think this also was the reason why, now that I think of it, the concept of homework, I struggled with it for so long. Like, I struggled with it because I was like, vele ungijwayela kabi. You are saying to me, after spending most of my day at school, doing all these lessons, learning from all these different subjects, you then give me work to go do at home? Like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't understand that. I was not a fan. I did not subscribe to that. And so because I hated that concept so much, what I would do is, in between periods, I would, if let's say I was in the maths period, the first period, and after that period we have, I don't know, there's accounting. Before the accounting teacher gets to class, if the maths teacher gave us homework, I'm quickly doing that homework. Or while I'm on the bus making my way back home, I'm doing whatever homework I've been given. So that when I'm at home, I'm going to unwind, I'm going to watch my shows, I'm going to go play with my friends. I'm not doing no schoolwork at home. And that I carried that with me to university as well. I struggled, guys. I was so upset. Like, I was not happy with it. You telling me midterm, like the breaks, or that June break, it's long as well. And I go home, I'll go back to Durban, be with my family. And then when are you going to give me an assignment? Because the course was not chowing me enough during the actual school term, you're going to give me an assignment that I need to do. And that assignment would then be due the week when we reopen on campus, or 2 weeks later. So vele, you are saying to me, while I am supposed to be on break, there's no break, I'm supposed to be doing this assignment or preparing it and getting it ready because I need to submit it when I come back. Like, to me, it was so ludicrous. I could not understand that. So and I'm saying that to also kind of emphasize how much I compartmentalize things. And as I'm speaking, I'm remembering, I don't know how many of you maybe who are tuning in would remember there was this advert on TV. Now, this is for the older guys who, watch TV about SABC. And it wasn't an advert. I think it was like I don't know what to call it, because it was quite long. Adverts are usually like 30 seconds to 1 minute. But this one was quite long. And it was First for Women, the insurance First for Women. And this guy was doing this analogy of an illustration of a woman's brain and a man's brain. And with women's brains, there's wires and everything is connected, interconnected, everything. And that's how, and it was very humorous how he was delivering it. And it was like, that's why women remember everything and they'll always bring back an old conversation or all of these things because everything is connected. And then it came to the man's brain and it was like the man's brain, there's boxes. And the important thing is that these boxes don't touch. Each box is for a specific thing. There's a box for your wife. There's a box for your kids. There's a box for your job. There's a box for your pets. There's a box for every little thing. There's a box for sports. And these boxes don't touch. They are not interconnected in any way. And when he was giving that analogy, I was like, yep. That is me, 100%. That is me, because I would compartmentalize everything. I kid you not. Emotionally speaking, I was shut off. Like I would not engage with my emotions. And look, to be fair, I don't come from a background where there's emotional vulnerability. I don't come from a family where we talk about our feelings and our emotions. There was none of that. No. We didn't do that. So I didn't have that model for me. So ain't no way I was going to be that person. So I was the person who would suppress. I suppress emotions. I would ignore emotions. I would reject and deny certain emotions depending on what the emotion is. And so this was the individual that I was growing up. And now growing up and, you're becoming an adult and then, I'm getting married and then you're having kids and then you're working with teams, you're becoming a leader in spaces and all of these things, you're realizing that there are certain things that need to happen. Now you start coming across terms like EQ. I'm like, what's happening? The EQ I know is the equalizer, on virtual DJ or with sound. But no, there's emotional quotient. I'm like, what is that? And now having to understand this. And then my wife is this person who wants to talk about everything. I'm like, but why? I'm like, oh no, why are you feeling like this? Or what's going on? Let's talk about this. And I get so uncomfortable. But then realizing also that, hey, this is necessary. This is actually part of maturity. You need to be able to have a certain emotional awareness and stability as well to be able to have difficult conversations, to be able to speak about what your feelings are or the emotions that you're going through and do it in a healthy way. I started going to therapy and I started realizing there are certain things about me that are so unhealthy. And so now I'm this person who is becoming more aware of my mental states, becoming more aware of my emotions. I'm starting to learn how to regulate my emotions. That wasn't the case when I was younger. So, a few things before we go and look at certain things to take away, just to give some comparisons around or contrast when it comes to mental resilience, mental stability, and mental toughness. So, just to put it out there, when I was preparing this episode, I initially thought it was going to be a either or. The title I had at the time was Mental Resilience versus Mental Stability versus Mental Toughness. But as I was preparing and doing my research, I realized that instead of it being a either or scenario where you either have mental stability or toughness or resilience, but I realized that actually it can be, and ideally I believe it should be, a and, not an either or, but and kind of situation. So it should be mental resilience and mental stability and mental toughness. So what I'm saying is we should be striving to obtain a level of having all three of these. Now, just to kind of speak on these and what they maintain, firstly, we're going to look at mental resilience and mental toughness. Let's just kind of compare the two. Mental resilience is more about recovery and adapting. Mental resilience is more of it has a reactive focus. What I mean by this is mental resilience focuses more on bouncing back. So it is post an event. It's post-event, post-adversity. So something happens and the resilience is then identified or is apparent by how you are able to bounce back, how you are able to recover from the stress, from the trauma, from whatever the event is, that maybe causes you to feel a certain way. So you exhibit characteristics of mental resilience by how you're able to bounce back, how you're able to adapt from a certain event. Whereas if you look at mental toughness, it is of a more proactive focus. So this is more around performing. It's about performing and thriving. It's how you push through in the midst of an event. And so this one it's more when an event happens, how you respond, how you actually are able to go through it. Do you shut down or are you able to persevere? So hence the word mental toughness, So it's more of the performative and it's proactive. It's pushing through an adversity, right? So the key skills when it comes to mental resilience, it is identified by emotional regulation. And then when it comes to mental toughness, it's identified by confidence and commitment. Maybe another word that comes to mind is grit. So that is what would characterize mental toughness. Now, immediately when I looked at those two, as I was doing this research and I saw this comparison, immediately I thought to myself, yeah, I don't fall under resilience. If I look at my younger self, remember I said I was shut off. I wore masks. I was a different person. I didn't know how to regulate my emotions, so I would compartmentalize. At home, I went through this. I'm angry at my cousin or my mom did this, so I'm frustrated. Whatever. I'm going to leave those emotions there and I go to school. I didn't have a way to regulate. And I recognized only when I stepped into spaces of leadership that I need to have a level of emotional regulation. For example, there is a task that needs to be delivered and team member A hasn't done their part. Now I'll be frustrated. I'll probably feel some anger because you're letting the team down. But in that time as a leader, it would be poor leadership on my part if I come and then I just lash out and I'm like, you see, you are useless. Why don't you do this? Why? Like, it's been a week. You haven't done it. Like, it would be weak of me as a leader to react in that way, to just go where the emotion is taking me. But emotional regulation says you then recognize, okay, I'm angry. This is frustrating. We shouldn't be here. It's been a week. You should have delivered this. However, now I need to regulate that emotion. Okay, I am frustrated. I see it, but now I need to be able to have a dignified and mature conversation with the individual and say, okay, guys, so I see this hasn't been done. Has there been a blocker? What has prohibited you from this? Let me understand, So rather than lashing out and being presumptuous and having assumptions, let me seek understanding. Let me find clarity. Okay, do you need support? Did you understand the task? Is there anything I can do to help? Okay, so, and then if there are consequences, also then be firm enough to say, okay, these are the consequences since this hasn't been done. But now, do you see the difference in the two? There's a level of emotional maturity in how I was able to handle it. Yes, I am angry and frustrated, but I didn't respond from that place. Now, the younger me, I would have just went off. If I didn't go off, I was going to suppress the anger. Because guess what? I used to just suppress, ignore, or reject emotions. So I'll do that. Now, emotional regulation, it doesn't reject emotions. It doesn't suppress emotions. It doesn't deny emotions. It acknowledges the emotions and then finds the best route to take in that emotion. So you're not going to avoid it or run away from it. I'm going to see how I can channel it, but what is the best course of action? Now, I didn't fall under that. But now I'm realizing it's not an either or. I'm not going to be like, yeah, I am mentally tough. Resilience, that's not for me, but I'm mentally tough. No, I need to see how I can develop mental resilience. And so when you look at mental toughness, it says confidence, grit. And I realize I'm that guy. Like, I'll go. Like, I will go at something. I don't care how tough it is. Like, let's see it through. And I believe, for the most part, men would find themselves really relating a lot when it comes to mental toughness. I feel like men really have that kind, I don't know if I want to call it a gene, but men have that capacity to really see things through, regardless of how tough it is. But then it doesn't mean the other is less than the other or better than the other. It doesn't mean toughness is better than resilience. Because what then happens is we don't want to find ourselves swinging on one end of the pendulum, because there are actual dangers if we're going to focus on one of these different kinds of categories of mental wellness. Like, for example, if I'm just going to focus on mental toughness and just always be go, 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 with no sense of mental stability, with no sense of having some emotional regulation, then I might find myself staying too long in environments that I shouldn't be in, that are not healthy for me. I might find myself enduring things longer than I should be. I might find myself tolerating things beyond the point that I should actually be tolerating them. So if I'm not going to have the mental stability, or I'm not going to have the resilience of knowing how to regulate my emotions, and I'm just going to lean on being tough, then there are going to be these dangers that I may find. Also, on the other hand, when it comes to resilience, if the only thing is I'm always recovering, it's always something must happen and then I must recover, then I must find, I'm going to find it hard to then push past my current level, to push past the ceiling. Because every time I must wait for the knockdown and then rise again. Wait for the knockdown and rise again. Rather than the adversity comes, and instead of it knocking me down, I actually go through it. The toughness, right? So it's then understanding how to do these things. Here, this is what I put here. I said the mental toughness, true mental toughness, is not about becoming immune to discomforts or ignoring emotions, but rather using skills to navigate challenges, such as accepting the urge to quit while choosing to move forward anyway. It involves balancing high performance with rest. So that is what true mental toughness is. True mental toughness actually pulls as well from mental stability and mental resilience. It recognizes that, okay, my emotional regulation is realizing that I want to quit, I don't want to do this. But then the toughness kicks in and says, okay, this is going to be beneficial for me, I'm going to do it anyway. But then the stability then comes and says, okay, once I've finished this task, I'm going to find a moment of rest. I'm going to reward myself for a job well done, and then I'm going to rest before the next task. So that's where then the balance comes, because I'm pulling strengths from these different pockets of mental wellness, if I may call them. And so again, resilience is about coping with damage already done. Remember, we said it is reactive. Stability is about maintaining a state that prevents damage. So at first we were just comparing mental resilience and mental toughness. Now let's bring the three together. You have mental resilience, you have mental toughness, but you also have mental stability. And how I put them in these three parts. Mental resilience is about coming back to equilibrium, coming back to your level, right? Because it's the bounce back. It's the recovery after an adversity. Mental stability is the maintaining of that level. So mental stability, you're not going down, not going up, you're maintaining equilibrium. You are maintaining healthy emotional regulation. You are maintaining that stability, right? You are maintaining a balanced mental state. Then mental toughness is then taking it to the next level. Mental toughness is about, okay, how do we push through? How do we go to the next level? Right now, I have my tolerance is at this level of adversity. Let's take my tolerance of adversity to this level. That's where mental toughness kicks in. Let's go. Let's break through. Let's go through. Let's break through the ceiling and get to another level of our mental toughness, of our mental capacity. So these three are interconnected. They work together. You can't just favor one more than the other, despise the other, and say, I don't need mental resilience. I can do well only with mental resilience. You need all three. You need all three in healthy moderation to ensure the overall mental well-being is healthy. All right. So some principles that I want us to then take away from this, that I've applied, that I've been trying to apply in my life consistently, and that I would present to you as well to consider, maybe if you aren't already considering them. The first is, rather than either or, let's consider and. Remember what I said a bit earlier. When I was preparing this episode, I thought it was mental resilience versus mental stability versus mental toughness. Like, which one's the best one? Which one's the one that we should be actually focusing on? But the research and what I've seen, like from when I was preparing this episode, is that no, it should be and. You should want to be having some level of all three. You want to be mentally stable. Like, you want to have that equilibrium. You want to know that no, I actually know how to regulate everything. You want to know that you can be able to recover when life knocks you down. When you get knocked down, maybe by a season of anxiety or depression. When you find yourself, at work, it was such a tough deadline and it really got you stressed out. Whatever it is, you want to be able to bounce back. How do you bounce back? So you want to have the mental resilience, but you also need the mental toughness. We need to be growing. We need to be becoming better. We need to be becoming stronger mentally. Like the capacity you had at first to be able to handle disappointments, you need to be able to handle even bigger disappointments later on. Like, you need to be able to handle bigger capacities as well. So you want to break the ceiling. Every ceiling that you find at every level, you want to break it. So it should be a and situation, not either or. Secondly, the purpose of therapy should be more preventative than cure. What I mean by this, the general approach to seeking counseling is usually when there's trouble. Me and my spouse are going for marriage counseling because it's rough. I'm facing some anxiety. I'm facing depression right now. I have chronic depression, so I'm seeing a therapist. Not often do you hear individuals saying, "Yeah, I've been seeing a therapist for the last 5 years. Oh, what, has it been tough? What, depression? No, I'm good. I just see a therapist to stay on top of things. Oh, my wife and I, we've been to a therapist from the time we were married. We always see a therapist once a month. Yo, was it tough from day one? No. Yeah, we've had challenges along the way, but we just stay on top of things. So even when it's great, we still go see a therapist to ensure that it remains great for as long as possible. And then when a challenge comes, hey, we're not now going to start seeing a therapist. We're just going to go back and be like, oh, so from the last time we spoke, hey, we're having this challenge now. And then we talk through it, we figure it out, and we see how we can solve it, we get better. And so this is what precisely I'm saying. Instead of us being cure, let us take preventative steps. Let us be proactive in terms of when it comes to our mental health, our mental well-being, and let us ensure that we are constantly aware of what it is that we are journeying through. What do we need to take care of? Oh, what's a current trauma I'm having? And what way do I need to deal with it? Oh, I have anger issues. How can I deal with this? Oh, now I'm realizing that I have a communication issue. I'm not very effective in my communication. Let's see how I can better it. Like, let's constantly be in that process of evolving. Like, use a practical example. Let's say maybe you're a runner, long distance runner. You are not going to go and train for the Comrades Marathon a week before because now you know it's coming. But you'll find that most of these Comrades runners, they are in training a year before. They're in training and have a steady diet already, like 6-9 months prior to the actual event. So that by the time the event comes, they've built the endurance, they have the necessary energy, like they've really invested to ensure that then they'll have the endurance and the longevity to be able to do it well. And so we want to have longevity in our lives. We want to have longevity in whatever it is we're doing. So for us to have that, let us be proactive in ensuring that we are taking care of our minds. Let's take care of this asset. Let's make sure that it's functioning to its best. Let's make sure that we're taking care of it when something happens. The same way you know to go and get a cast if you broke your arm. You know to get an antiseptic and disinfect a wound if you hurt yourself. When traumas happen, you're gonna go through grief of losing a loved one. You're gonna have a business fail and it's gonna affect you a certain way. You're gonna go through a breakup or lose a friendship, and then you're gonna grieve that relationship. You're gonna go through some anxiety or whatever the case is. Trauma, like mental trauma, take care of it. Actually be proactive and go and see someone, have groups where you speak with someone. Maybe there's a brotherhood where you have trusted friends that you do a journey with, and you guys are vulnerable with one another and you do life together. It may be marriage. You have other couples that you guys are doing this marriage journey together alongside one another. You can go to that other husband and be like, hey man, my wife is doing this, and then you guys can counsel one another. You can speak life into one another, encourage one another, pray for one another. Like, find yourself in these spaces. And then also the professionals, your therapists and counselors, be in those spaces. You're a person of faith. Go to have a pastor, have someone that you've submitted under, and they can speak into your life as well. Like, really invest in these spaces where you can talk things through. There's something so powerful in actually letting things out. It may be through journaling. Like, there's something that happens when you just put something on paper or you speak to someone else. It kind of brings some clarity and some form of sense to everything that's happening up here, the confusion, the craziness, and how all these emotions can be jumbled up in your mind. When you speak it out, when you write it on paper or something, it releases it from it just sitting and festering in your mind, and you just get it out there. And sometimes it can make sense. You start making sense of things. You start understanding it better. Like, that's why I remember in one of the episodes that we had, it was with Dr. Masego. He said therapy is a mirror. All it is a mirror, and what you're saying, it just gets bounced back. That's why you'll hear therapists lead with questions so much, because you'll say something and then the therapist will say, oh, so what you're saying to me is this, because then you then hear for yourself that, oh, this is what I'm saying. Is this exactly what I mean? Or is this exactly how I'm feeling? And you start making sense of your emotions, of your thoughts, of what it is that's going on in your mind. So really be more proactive, in terms of when it comes to your mental health, rather than going for it when things have happened and now you're trying to cure things and you're trying to get a fix. Let's prevent. Let's be on that journey of making sure that it's healthy, so that even when the adversity comes, it finds us healthy. It finds us already dealing with it. When you get angry, the anger that comes that's new, it finds you already dealing with the anger issues that were already existing, So you're on that journey proactively. And then the last thing is, life is better in moderation. Guys, I kid you not. Like, life is hectic, guys. Like, all these things coming at once and doing all, like, you're working, you have relationships, you are a leader, you're building a business, you play sports, whatever it is, all these different things. It can be so overwhelming. But I'm here to say there is such a strength when you understand that when you take life in moderation, that's where you find yourself winning. It's not about swinging one way of the pendulum and the other way, that way is right and that way is wrong. But it's about actually finding a balance. Like I was saying with these three buckets of mental wellness. If you're just gonna rely on mental resilience, you are losing out on the benefits of having mental toughness, the benefits of having mental stability. So you want to moderate, you want to really try and strike a balance in all these things as much as possible. You want to balance your work-life balance. You want to know that, okay, I'm going to give myself diligently 8 hours of the day in my job, but then when I close my laptop or when I am at home, I'm at home. Let family time be family time, because that also is playing a role. In as much as you pouring into your family, spending time with your spouse or your kids, they also pour into you. There's something that happens to you as well. There's something that, is poured into you in that space as well. Let it be your spiritual life. If you sit down, you do some Bible study, or you go to some gathering, a small group gathering, a church cell, or just Going to church on a Sunday as well, be intentional with that. All of these things are beneficial and healthy when done in moderation. And I am convinced that anything, no matter how good it is, if you do that in excess, it's going to have some disadvantages. So you want to have moderation, whatever you do. I love playing tennis, but if I'm going to go and play tennis for 8 hours straight, I'm probably going to faint. I'm probably not even going to do the full 8 hours. I'm probably going to play a really great set for the first two in that first hour, but by hour 4, my swings are probably terrible. The ball is probably flying all other directions that I don't want it to fly in. Why? Because I have overexhausted myself in that area. And so you don't want to find yourself just taking things in excess, but rather find moderations in these different things. And in that way, when you find that balance, that's where you find the mental wellness overall in your life. And then you can live a much more fruitful, pleasant, and successful life. And so that's it. That's all I wanted to chat about in this episode. I hope there was something that was worth taking away. And until the next episode, please remember that the man you are becoming is better than the man